back to another episode of the Hype Coach podcast. I have a provoking episode today. I'm your host, and today we're going to dive into the complexities and the pressing and very complex issue that affects individuals today worldwide. What can I possibly be speaking about in this topic that affects individuals worldwide? Well, I'll be talking about depression. Today on the topic, we're going to dive deeper on this complex issue so that way you can understand why it appears to be on the rise in 2024. We are going to dissect the various contributing factors around this alarming trend and why it's become so normalized and sweeping the world by storm. Depression itself is a silent killer. When I tell you that I had an influx of young adults, teens, in my office over the last 2 weeks, I literally had 4 bookings on the exact same day for teens. So it's not just adults that are dealing with this very multifaceted mental health concern. It is young children as young as 8 years old. Children at 8 years old. Do you know how detrimental that is to know that 8-year-olds today are dealing with depression in 2024? It is significantly alarming. So as we understand what it is, and how it's provoking this generation and sweeping us by storm, I'm going to give you reasons and understandings behind why it may be very hard to grapple with more than ever before. One contributing factor to the surge of depression rates is the relentless pace and demands of contemporary life. We live a very fast-paced lifestyle. And in today's hyper-connected world, with its constant barrage of information and expectations, we find ourselves struggling to carve out time for self-care, relaxation, and just being soft mode. The pressure to excel in both personal and professional spheres can be extremely overwhelming, leaving many feeling very overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and depleted. Social media itself is a powerful tool for connectivity and expression, but it also plays a very pivotal role when it comes to the uptick of depression itself. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok also offer us a glimpse into other people's lives and portraying the idolized version of reality that they perceive. The relentless comparison to these curated portrayals can foster feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, comparison, low self-esteem, and contributing fact of disconnection and loneliness. It's so crazy to me that in a world right now where we have eons and eons of platforms for connectivity, we ourselves are struggling with disconnection and loneliness. Please explain to me, how is this happening in a world right now where generations have connection at their fingertips? The economic instability isn't helping many people. It's characterized by the globalization. We got inflation. We are really grappling with job insecurity, financial strain, and uncertainty of the future. It's that constant fear of falling and being behind and failing to meet expectations of society. And these can weigh really heavily on someone's mental health and lead to feelings of hopelessness and despair. That's ultimately what depression is. You feel stuck. You are stuck in terms of your job. You feel stuck in terms of your expectations. You feel stuck in terms of your responsibilities. It's stuck in your roles, what happens, what doesn't. And I can go on and on and on about this. The stigma around mental health remains a significant barrier to addressing depression. But despite the advancements in awareness and understanding, many individuals still feel ashamed and reluctant to seek help. There's that constant shame or guilt of telling someone that you're going to get therapy or help, or someone that is really struggling with understanding their external surroundings and their perspective. There is a reluctance of confronting mental health concerns in a fear where people might judge you as well, in a fear that you might be isolated or that might be repeating the cycle. There is so much expectations at this point when it comes to societal norms. Also, the COVID-19 pandemic, although it was 4 years ago, it has an undeniable role as well. It held onto the surge. It created the surge of depression rates. It prolonged this periods of isolation, fear of illness, disruptions in daily routines, and had a massive toll on someone's mental health globally. The pandemic was amplifying existing stresses and created new challenges and furthermore fueling feelings of depression and anxiety among youth. The youth today itself is facing a massive amount of challenges in the rising rates of depression. And here are some key factors, and I'm going to go into detail. So that way, if you have a young adult at home that is showing signs of depression, isolation, coping mechanism, which is like escapism, where they're not listening to you, where they tell you or they express to you that they don't find a purpose in life. First one is social media and technology. The social comparison, social media platforms often create platforms and environments where young adults can compare their lives to be curated and often idolized lives of others. Our children watch other people live at this moment. Our children watch other people play with toys. My children, as young as 8, 9, and I have a 4-year-old that literally see people on YouTube play with toys rather than the children doing dramatic play or playing with their own toys in their own way, using their imagination. It's kind of an avoidance technique or a way to go, oh, this is, I really like how these people are playing with, not realizing that they can use their imagination themselves. But it's idolizing the lives of others. We have to remember that we only get a very small percentage of someone's day. I think Instagram gives up a total of 1 to 2 hours, whereas TikTok, you can basically vlog a massive point, and YouTube is the same, where this is idolizing the lives of others and creating comparison. When they create comparison, there is leading forms of inadequacy and low self-esteem. Why don't I have that? Why doesn't my mum able to get me that? Why doesn't my dad stay with me at home all day? Why don't I have a private jet? Why don't I have a new pair of shoes? Why? When they start to compare, and you'll see this in adults as well, when you start to compare, you lack the appreciation or the gratitude for the current circumstance of what you have right now. The killer, I will tell you right now, I'm going to stop this right now. The killer to depression, the massive contributor, the massive way to kill depression is gratitude. Because gratitude itself is saying, okay, I'm significantly dealing with this because I'm comparing, or why am I so lazy? Or I should do this, I should do that, and I should do this, and I should do that. When we create shoulds in our life, we're creating restriction within our language. When we're creating gratitude, I'm thankful for this. I am grateful for this. I thank Allah for this. I am grateful for Allah for this. I have this. I'm grateful for this. It crushes comparison because you're highlighting your world as a solution and you're eliminating comparison. So right now, if you're going to do anything, you're going to eliminate the word should out of your vocabulary and replace it with could. Yep. No more shoulds, create a could. Because could creates choices, which more choices gives you solutions. Should creates comparison and restriction. So that's how we significantly eliminate depression. Cyberbullying. The internet makes it easier for bullying to occur. And if your child is on social media or social platforms and technology for a significant amount of time and without your constant supervision, it can lead to a significant amount of emotional distress. So if your child plays Roblox, make sure the child cannot speak to anyone unless you give them permission to. They need to have an approved request. They're not allowed to play with anyone that isn't their cousins, their friends from school, their siblings. And you need to consistently filter through. You can't turn a blind eye. And you can't use the excuse that you're not tech savvy. It's going to lead to a lot of issues if you let your child on social media or technology without being supervised. It's not a place for children. They don't have that skill to filter through what's useful and what's not. I'm teaching adults this in therapy and they're 30 and 40 years old. What makes you think a 12, 13, 14-year-old know how to do it? Children don't know how to filter through their intrusive thoughts. They don't know the difference. So make sure your children are on social media or technology when they're being supervised and you're filtering through these messages so that way you don't turn a blind eye. The excessive screen time can also disrupt sleep patterns and reduce face-to-face social interactions and include and increase feelings of isolation. Children find it very easy to interact on through a screen, but put them in front of each other, they don't even know how to hold a proper conversation. That is significantly problematic because that's going to hinder their social anxiety. They're going to imagine all these false realities. They're going to think, oh my God, these people all hate me. Or these people don't like me. Oh my goodness, what's going on? It's not useful. And I would not, by any chance, turn a blind eye. Second one is academic pressure. The high expectations and the pressure to excel academically to secure a successful future can be significantly overwhelming and create perfectionism itself. The stress can be compounded by standardized testing and competitive admissions and processes, and they don't know how to hold a balance. We got to balance it. The children don't know how to balance schoolwork and extracurricular activities and jobs and social lives, and they can lead to burnout and mental exhaustion. Usually when people come into therapy, when they finally seek therapy, it's at the lowest point in time. It's not because they feel like they have choices. It's they feel like they can't go on anymore. Something needs to change. And if your child is saying something needs to change and they finally blurted out that they're dealing with this, understand that it might look like it happened overnight, but it didn't. It's something that's a long time coming. It looks like it's overnight, but it's not. Another thing that can be contributing to depression is the job market, the instability of the economy, the inflation. What's going to happen to my job? Is my job going to be replaced by AI? Is my job going to be replaced by the person next door or the child, like the young person next door that can in itself hold the job better than me for a cheaper rate? There's global issues, political instability. The current theme of Palestine right now is really sweeping us by storm. So when we're dealing with the issues globally, this impacts us at a rate we cannot imagine. You got to be living underneath a rock to think that this doesn't affect us. It affects us as a whole. Even if you're not in the Middle East, even if you are in a first world country like we are in Australia, we can and will hold that depression, that guilt. Why has God forsaken you and allowed you to live while these other people are dying? Another issue is family dynamics, parental pressure. If parents are consistently fighting, there is a massive pressure there. If there is divorce, there is financial difficulties, other conflicts that can create unstable home environments that can contribute to emotional distress. And then the fifth one is reluctance to seek help. There is a stigma around mental health issues that prevent young people and adults from seeking help that they need. And if it's left untreated, it can worsen. I had someone call me yesterday saying that the school counselor told the parent to give a 17-year-old antidepressants. What the actual hell? What you're telling a 17-year-old is to be reliant on a medication. What the hell? I asked the mother. It was a 15-minute consultation, by the way. I asked the mother, did the counselor recommend exercise? She said no. Did the counselor recommend long-term therapy? She said no. Did the counselor recommend journaling? She said no. Why is it you're telling a child to be dependent on medication when all these things have not been ticked off? So mental health awareness is a lot more than just going to therapy. It's what you listen to, who you surround yourself with, what enters your body, how you exert that energy, where do you go, what you surround yourself with, what enters through your filters, your perceptional filters. And then you have another thing, children's desire to fit in and be accepted. That can lead to stress significantly. The adolescent brain is still developing at this stage, particularly in areas where emotional regulation and decision-making are not there just yet. This can make a young person feel susceptible to mood swings and emotional instability. and they can immediately feel like there's something wrong with them. The hormones, you got puberty and hormonal changes. They can contribute to moods, including depression. If someone goes through a long-term depressive state, they can think that they're stuck in this forever and they don't want to be. Childhood trauma, the experiences such as abuse, neglect, witnessing violence can have a long-lasting effect on someone's mental health. And it's all because of lack of coping skills. The emotional regulation, many children, young people have not yet developed effective coping mechanisms for dealing with stress and emotional pain. There's no resilience there. We have a lack of resilience building activities and experiences, and that can make it harder for youth to bounce back from setbacks and challenges. They can emotionally think like, this world is effed. What am I doing living in this world? And they can very easily start expressing that they don't want to be here anymore if they don't want to live in the world like this. So addressing these issues requires a multifaceted approach. It's not just one setback. It's not just one area. We have education around mental health, better access to resources, supportive family, community environments, reducing stigma, and seeking help. Now, I will tell you that we've come a long way, but we're not there just yet. If we're seeing depression rates sweeping the world by storm, it is problematic, and it's something that should not be ignored. If you or your child is developing or has developed a sense of depression or depressive episodes and they would need to speak to someone, do not sleep on therapy. Do not sleep on providing a safe environment for the child to express their emotions. And you do this through creating a safe and trusting network around you. Do not sleep on the aspect of raising awareness for where these children can find resources. That wraps up today's episode. I thank you for joining me as we explored this very important topic. And if you found this episode insightful, don't forget to subscribe and share it with others. Together, we can work towards a world where mental health is prioritized and supported. And until next time, take care of each other, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Hype Coach podcast. If you did enjoy this podcast episode, please share it on your socials. You can find me on IG, Safa Al-Chami, TikTok, The Al-Chami Life, and you can book a personal therapy package at my website, www.thehypecoach.com.au. I look forward to working with you. Let's grow.